I'm Matt Bradley, and I'm the Product Launch Manager for Revysol Fungicides and BASF Market Growth. So farmers are generally accepting of new practices and implementing new technologies into their operations. It's just the rate at which they're willing to adopt. You always have an adopter curve with people who are willing to be early versus late. And I think a really good case study on this is actually the way that the soybean seed treatment market has evolved. So in 1996, less than 10% of all of the soybean acres that were planted actually had a seed treatment on them. Most of those were fungicides and were focused specifically on making sure that soybeans were able to emerge in the harshest of environments. Looking to 2019, more soybean acres are actually planted with a soybean seed treatment.
The way that the seed treatment market evolved was focused around three components: security in the investment that the seed will emerge, superior control from key diseases and insects resulting in the visual, more vigorous germination, and the observation of a financial gain that an increased yield was achieved where the seed treatment was actually utilized versus ignored.
This didn't happen by chance. It was a very deliberate effort put forward by manufacturers and retailers alike that allowed the customer to see the benefit of that seed treatment in their operation. I see this as a direct parallel to the way that the fungicide market is going to grow in the next 5 years. We spend a tremendous amount of time and investment understanding the farmer, understanding what drives them to use, and more importantly, why they don't use fungicides today. But what we probably have spent less time on is how do we actually engage our retail and channel partners to approach the market differently with this deeper understanding of our customer profiles and how we want to grow the market into the future. Our solution for this is actually the acronym Payback. Payback is a 7-step sales process that we should be able to walk through with every retailer to understand where they're at in their journey of recommending and promoting fungicides, so that when the retailers prioritize fungicides in their operation, they have the ability to provide the most value to their farmers and also maintain their relevance in the marketplace going forward.
Since the early 2000s, BASF has developed the market in row crops. During this time, there has been a large focus on return on investment to the farmer, ROI. ROI is certainly an important factor when farmers are managing their operations, but does every farmer really think about it in this way?
So one of the things that we want to do as we launch Revysol and we grow the market overall is to move away from talking about the return on investment and actually put it into more of a positive light, and that fungicides pay back. It's just a matter of how much. And by using this 7-letter acronym, we can follow a 7-step process to enable our retail and channel partners to be more effective when they're talking to customers about the use of these valuable products in their operation. I think it's important for us to know that segmentation is only one of many tools that are being developed to help understand and meet the customer in their adoption journey. Probably the most important tool is actually the one that we're here to talk to you about today, and that's our sales model going forward and how we can approach the market differently. Understanding and helping use segmentation to support the retailer in their conversations is what the Payback model is built for.
The first step in the process is to prioritize. One of the key challenges retailers have today is they may or may not put a priority around fungicides in their businesses and taken the time out to actually sell the products. More importantly, we often incorrectly profile customers either by experience, willingness to partner with BASF, and general attitude as not wanting to sell. Instead, if we challenge ourselves to see them as high-quality prospects who are needing a little nudge and a bit of help in the process, imagine what could happen.
A lot of retailers actually feel that the risk to their reputation by incorrectly making a recommendation is more risky than actually not making a recommendation at all. So by understanding these challenges and immersing ourselves in our customers' business, we can actually put fungicides as a priority in their operations for growth into the future. The first step is actually to make sure that that retailer acknowledges frustration with the way that the market has evolved over the past 10 to 12 years. Aligning ourselves with the customer and understanding where they're at is one of the key components to being able to move forward and get the customer to accept that market growth is even possible. So once we've aligned and we understand where we want to go, one of the most critical components of being able to prioritize fungicides is to be able to create a roadmap in which both us and the retailer can see success and quick wins through the process. When we understand that, we can then partner and immerse ourselves in that retailer's operations so that the perceived risk of recommending fungicides is very, very low when they replace that by recommending BASF plant health products as the only way forward.
We've identified application intensity as a key driver and motivator to transition a farmer from being reactive in their approach to using fungicides in their operations. The challenge we have is that too often, retailers lack a deliberate plan to get the farmer to gradually increase the farmer's adoption, and we focus on the end goal as 100% of their acres versus half. Complete adoption is most often less than 100%. And so the conversation can open itself up to farmer objections of why he can't get to 100% or even have enough time to make the application in a timely manner. During this discussion of shooting for the stars, we not only lose the chance to get the farmer to 50%, we also lose the opportunity to upgrade or downgrade the offer. Instead, we lead with a new product to upsell, cannibalizing the existing book of business. We often think it's easier to upsell versus seeing the true opportunity of getting that customer who's treating less than 50% or not at all to adopt fungicides into their operation.
When we spend the time trying to upsell and we don't follow this process, it often ends in frustration and a lack of motivation by both us and retailers to actually go try to find those growers because the payback just isn't there. So the opportunity and progress within application intensity really looks like focusing on 50%. If we can accomplish that and get 70% of all farmers to use a fungicide by 2023, no matter how many acres that they're actually treating, we will be successful with the launch of Revysol and we will grow the market again. Understanding the farmer's place in their adoption journey is critical for this. Remember, 90% of all farmers have used a fungicide in their operation, and 40% have been left with some sort of a negative perception related to fungicides as they've been integrated into their operation. Our opportunity is to help get those farmers to reconsider the expectations of both our Revysol and legacy products and how they can pay back in their operations going forward.
The next step in the journey is years to adoption. This also aligns with where the customer is in their journey. Today, on average, it takes 7 years and almost 7 face-to-face interactions with the farmer, or 50 total sales calls, to be able to get a customer to completely adopt fungicides into their operation. 7 years, 50 sales calls. This is time-consuming, overwhelming, and without a final target, there is no end in sight. More importantly, with this level of commitment, the return on the investment is questioned and interest is lost. More importantly, what is retained is the sense of failure that occurred in the process to complete adoption.
We've talked a little bit about understanding where the customer is in the adoption curve. For customers who have not used fungicides or may have lapsed completely out, we believe that we can actually make this a 3-year process with 3 face-to-face interactions. In year 1, we want to focus on using a farmer's field and treating half of that field, enabling him to see the difference between the treated and the untreated portion of the field. Now, that untreated portion could either be with a competitor or nothing treated at all. It's very important, though, after a farmer does a side-by-side in their field, that we move past this step. Moving into year 2, what we want to do is actually move into the experience of treating a whole field and leaving that same variety or hybrid untreated in a different field. It accentuates the experience that they received in year 1, but now they're able to see the performance of the product on 2 distinctly different parcels of land with the same variety or hybrid. Once they've seen this variation in whole fields that are treated, it's much easier in year 3 to ask that farmer to consider treating half of his crop acres in that following year. All right, so it's no coincidence that actually budgets hit in the middle part of the 7-step process. Financials are a key component to being able to show the true payback of fungicides in our operation.
When a retailer views fungicides lumped in with all the other crop protection products that he sells, it's very hard for the retailer to see the true profit that the fungicide is actually contributing. The same thing is true for the farmer. More importantly for us, if we are not working with the retailer to evaluate the total profitability that fungicides can bring, we are losing the chance to partner with the retailer and become a solution provider versus a product seller. The same is likely true when the retailer has to face one of the most common farmer objections. He doesn't have money to actually pay for the treatment. This is because it's the last expense that he has. Where we oftentimes fall short is we focus on the application as an expense versus using this as an opportunity to convince the farmer that using a fungicide in their operation is the easiest way to maximize the total investment they have already made. This is the payback that they have in their operation for the year.
So the opportunity to overcome the frustration around financial payback and budgets related to fungicides really comes with immersing ourselves in the retailer's business and making fungicides a priority. Back to step number one. But this really takes it a step further and allows us to look at the total profit extraction of the fungicide application on the balance sheet and helping them overcome some of the payback constraints that they believe to be there today. Our competitors tend to often look at this as a one-year opportunistic sale versus a multi-year strategy to grow. By utilizing customer segmentation and profiling, we can now identify a larger subset of farmers who may not be using today or using it under that 50% ratio, and we can partner with the retailer to increase the total treatment intensity of the acres that he's applying a fungicide on into the future.
Too often, it is easy to think of the fungicide application as just the fungicide alone, but the retailer is actually focused on maximizing revenue from all three components that make up the fungicide application and impact the retailer's bottom line: the application, the adjuvant, and the fungicide. Too often, it's perceived that it happens in this order. The problem is, farmers who are using on less than 50% of their acres during the adoption process do not want the added expense of the full cost of application. ROI can be difficult to justify, but being consciously aware that a farmer may have additional confusion and expense during this period is critical. If we allow the farmer to become confused or even slightly frustrated, enabling the 7-year sales process, the result is the retailer frustration that we address in the why of the payback model.
So the opportunity that we have when it comes to application and adjuvants is actually twofold. When we talk about products that contain Revysol, we have the widest application window available in the marketplace, enabling retailers to actually extract revenue that they otherwise may not have the ability to get today. But more importantly is actually the way that adjuvants are recommended within the application process. It is critically important that if a farmer is not treating greater than 50% of their acres, that we're not overloading the tank by adding too many adjuvants and other tank mix partners, and we make sure that we let the fungicide lead the way. When the farmer sees that the fungicide is truly providing payback, he has a higher probability of paying more into the future. And through that, the short-term wins no longer outweigh the long-term results. If they're committed to joining us in the 3-year journey, the long-term benefits of allowing the fungicide to be the driver in the application, to make sure that the farmer sees the payback of the fungicide, enables the opportunity to upsell into the future. So we've gone through the first 5 steps of the sales process and getting a retailer to reconsider the way that he sells fungicides to his customers today and how we might be able to partner together better going forward. But we can't just stop there and follow the process and assume that it's going to work.
Once you have a farmer on the path to treating half of their acres and complete adoption, it can become easy to forget about this customer as we move on to our next set of prospects. Failure to follow up leads to confusion and puts the process at high risk. We must make sure we follow up. On the journey to complete adoption, we need to be mindful that these farmers are likely still lacking full clarity to the payback and other operational benefits. This lack of clarity can leave the farmer open to brand switching, oftentimes perceived as price sensitivity, reduction in the acres treated, or even worse, the farmer lapses altogether. The ultimate result is the devaluation of market and lack of confidence. We need to make sure we continue to follow up with the farmer, whether it's us or the retailer. We're doing that together, and make sure they have clarity on what is the fungicide payback that they've so desperately been looking for. So now that we know how to challenge the farmer's recommendations, we need to ask the retailer to reconsider his expectations for what the products provide.
Asking retailers to actually carry multiple SKUs to be able to address the farmer's needs with the benefits that the product of choice best delivers. For those retailers who maybe are a little bit confused or lack the confidence to go out and make the recommendation to a farmer about resetting their expectations and using a fungicide in their operation, there should be no doubt that Revysol is the best DMI in the marketplace. The retailer should feel confident to challenge the farmer to reset his expectations. And when he does reset his expectations, it needs to be done with a product that has the broader, stronger, and longer control that Revysol provides. The ultimate tiebreaker is to lead with a product that contains Revysol.
We know that 90% of farmers have used a fungicide in their operation, and 50% of those customers aren't using today. The important thing to note here is that when we are approaching customers who are not using today, we need the tone of our conversation to change. One of the main reasons that they're not using is that nobody followed up with them after their initial experience with the product, and they were somehow left under-delivered on a promise that was made to someone. The goal of Payback is to make sure that we do follow up, that we bookend the process, and make sure the customer was satisfied, and make sure that we live up to the value proposition that we have for all of our products in our plant health portfolio.
So understanding the farmer is a key to BASF's market growth initiatives now to 2023. We've talked a lot about customer segmentation and customer profiling, and this is really where that step actually enters in. We know that 90% of all farmers have tried a fungicide in their operation over the past 15 years as the market has expanded dramatically. What we don't always necessarily know are what those key drivers are within each farmer's specific situation that actually drives them. What needs do they have that the retailer or us as a chemical manufacturer can provide to them to make their operation more sustainable going into the future? By asking questions, we not only understand which product to recommend, but in doing so, we develop a stronger rapport with the retailer and the farmer. More importantly, we're going to build a sense of trust and a relationship that will go deeper than the BASF product brand, our relationship with the retailer, and proving that fungicides always pay back and they need to be a critical part of every corn and soybeans farmer's operation going forward. By following this model, you should be able to take this and customize it for your own territory. Pick the right retailers who have the opportunity to become active promoters in your market. Educate them by increasing both their willingness and ability to recommend fungicides, and when they become active promoters, we will grow to 70% of all farmers in corn and soybean markets using fungicides by 2023 on at least half of their acres. We want you to identify 2 retailers today who are not active promoters of fungicides. We want you to walk through the payback process with those retail agronomists and help understand where they're at in their adoption journey. Why don't they recommend more? And through going through the process, they should have the confidence to recommend BASF plant health products as the premier recommendation to grow their businesses going forward. But it doesn't stop there. We need you to go with that retail agronomist and find 2 farmers and make 3 sales calls in the 2020 season with that farmer. Rest assured, one of our BASF plant health products will be able to provide benefits to that farmer to allow him to farm more profitably and sustainably into the future.